The other night, I had a dream where I called hundreds of Black women into an arena and invited them to share their wisdom with a crowd of thousands of witnesses. They shared their wisdom in many forms. They told stories, poems, songs, even cliched statements. And when they were done, the Black women exited the arena, hugging and laughing and crying. They were filled up by the experience they had just shared. The crowd, however, was stunned into silence. No one moved. No one spoke. As the Black women exited the arena, the crowd didn't know what to do next. I woke up from the dream in tears. I felt as if I'd had some kind of religious experience. Aside from my wife, who has the great privilege slash burden of hearing all of my epiphanous dreams, you all are the first ones I'm telling this one to. You seem like the right group. You're here because you answered the call to rebuild. You are here because you want to participate in the co-creation of a better, more just, more sustainable world. And I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that you are here to know what to do next. Just like the crowd of witnesses in my dream, you may have been stunned into silence by any number of amazing 2020 events. And of course you were. This year has been stunning. But my guess is that now you're ready to move. You're ready to speak. You're ready to follow those Black women out of the arena, to join them in the hugging and laughing and crying. You're ready. You just need to follow their wisdom. Do you want to know what the Black woman in my dream said? Well, I don't know. I don't remember. It was a dream. I had it days ago. Gosh, I wish I was one of those people who like popped out of bed and like grabs my dream journal and proceeds to capture all of the goodness before it's gone. But I'm not one of those people. I am someone with 3 dogs who has to make sure they're fed and go potty as soon as I wake up. I grab my phone and start scrolling like every other brainwashed human in this era of social media. I make my hot tea, all of the regular stuff. So no, I did not capture the wisdom of the women in my dream. But lucky for you, I believe that wisdom lives inside of me somewhere. In the life I've lived, the work I've done, and the people I've met. Perhaps in sharing my wisdom, I will be sharing theirs as well. In sharing my wisdom, I hope that you will come out of the other end of this speech knowing just how to show up during this time of political and economic uncertainty, environmental devastation, and racial awakening. The answer is simple, but it's not easy. It's about stories. Your stories, mine, the stories we co-create. In this speech, I will pitch to you a story-based framework for social action. And in doing so, my hope is that you will know just what to do. I've spent my entire career creating opportunities for people to tell their stories. I've helped kids express themselves on stage. I've helped organizations define and live into their values. I've helped brands and entrepreneurs shape campaigns that inspire and encourage loyal fans to take action. And one thing I know about storytelling is that it is an act akin to breathing. Maya Angelou said, "There is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you." Telling our stories is something we must do. We must do it regularly. We must tell the same stories over and over again until we're exhausted. Like any practice, the more we do it, the better we get at it. And the better we get at it, the greater impact we have on our own lives and the lives of those around us. Stories are magic. They are how we make sense of who we are and what we believe in. Our stories connect us to each other and the planet. Our stories are so magical that they have the power to shape the future we want to live in. Let me repeat that. Our stories are so magical. They have the power to shape the future we want to live in. And boy, can we use all the magic there is right now, can't we? So, our stories also have the power to notice, name, and dismantle racist, sexist, and other oppressive systems. The systems that are designed to keep some of us centered in the arena, and the rest of us forced out, marginalized, exploited, silenced, and erased. This is our work. 100%. Notice, name, dismantle. Any of us, all of us, notice, name, dismantle. If any of you are out there wondering, what is my true purpose? How can I make a difference? I want to encourage you to repeat after me. Notice, name, dismantle. That's the work of this time. You are vital to this work. And you will participate in this work through storytelling. Here's how. Notice. We know that we cannot easily move forward without knowing where we've been. To notice is to pay attention, to be aware, to activate our senses to what is. In a society based on the false premise of white supremacy, we have seen the same guys in the arena saying the same shit for so long that we don't have much practice at noticing what is actually happening. All of us, not just white folks, have been trained to pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, to believe that this certain set of stories makes up all that is right and good, and to ignore and violently reject the rest. So in this notice phase of the work, we must practice telling and listening to the stories that have been left out of the arena. The stories of Black, Brown, and Indigenous folks, the stories of women and gender expansive folks, the stories of poverty and trauma, of migration and detainment and incarceration, the stories of queerness and fat bodies and disabilities. Those of us who hold these stories must tell them over and over again until we're exhausted. I know. It's a heavy emotional lift. It can feel impossible at times to keep showing up and making ourselves vulnerable just to have folks gaslight, get defensive, and downright reject our stories. Some of us are done, just can't take it anymore, and I get that. For those of us who can make it through one more day, we will keep telling on your behalf. We got you. Now, for those of us who are unfamiliar with marginalized stories, we must listen over and over again until we are exhausted. We have to practice because the white guys in the arena have set us up to believe that stories like these are the lies. So it's our job to keep listening until we believe them, until we trust the tellers, until we pay attention to what is actually happening. I am the co-founder and executive producer of Oakland Freedom Theater, a company of actors, musicians, and facilitators utilizing art and empathy to dismantle systems of oppression. Our work is centered on an improvisational art form called playback theater, where audience members tell their stories from their real life, and the actors play them back on the spot. At Oakland Freedom Theater, we focus on the stories and experience of Black folks and non-Black people of color. We believe that by doing this over and over again, we provide spaces for folks of color to heal, connect, mourn, and celebrate. And we provide spaces for white folks to learn what is really happening and practice what it looks and feels like to not be at the center. Multicultural organizations, nonprofit organizations, and communities work with us as a way of engaging empathy for more meaningful connections. Tonight, I am performing with Oakland Freedom Theater on Zoom in honor of what would have been George Floyd's 47th birthday. The show is called My Ancestor's Dream, and it begins at 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern. Please join us. Name. Rapper Kendrick Lamar says, if I'm going to tell a real story, I'm going to start with my name. To name something gives it an identity. It makes it real. It brings it to life. Once we notice what is really going on, we must then name it. We must speak plain and use the words that correspond to the things. No one wants to be called out of their name. It makes us feel ungrounded, unsafe, unseen. Through our stories, we must practice honoring what is happening by calling it by its name. For example, share your identities. I am a queer, Black, cisgendered woman. I am educated, English-speaking, able-bodied, fat, a mom of a non-divergent daughter. Owning the parts of your identity that are privileged and owning the parts of your identity that are marginalized. Practice saying them over and over and over again until you're exhausted. If you are part of a majority white organization, say it, name it. Tell the truth about why it is so. If you're working to achieve greater diversity, you're not going to do so by skirting around the fact that you are not diverse now. Name it. Name the mistakes you've made and the harm you've caused. Another quote, James Baldwin wrote, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. Notice it, name it. And get good at naming harm when you see it. When you're part of or witness to acts of racism or sexism or homophobia or ableism, name them as such. Call it out. Say it. That is racist. I see it and I'm not having it. You know, we've all been in those meetings lately that are super uncomfortable, right? Someone says something and you can tell, even through our Zoom squares, the energy has shifted. Maybe you don't know exactly what's happened. Maybe you can't name the exact offense, but if you can feel it, you can name it. You can call it out simply by saying, hey, Bob, what you said, when you said that, I noticed a shift in the energy, and I'm not sure, but I wonder if anyone else here is uncomfortable. Just naming the moment can make space for someone else in the room who can articulate exactly what Bob did to speak up and take it further. And please, 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 please name white supremacy for what it is. I've had so many people, I can't tell you, try to convince me that we should call it something else to make people more comfortable. Some of you might be familiar with the Dismantle Collective, person of color-led collective that was formed at the 2018 B Corp Champions Retreat in New Orleans. I'm a part of that collective, and we started working together because of the fear white folks in the B Corp community have about talking about race at all, let alone white supremacy. But we must name it. White supremacy, as defined by the Oxford English Dictionary, is the belief that white people are superior to those of all other races, especially the Black race, and should therefore dominate society. end quote. So white supremacy is not confined to the Proud Boys or the Ku Klux Klan. It is actually a carefully constructed set of systems and policies that birthed this country and made space for Proud Boys and Klan members to thrive. So let's name it, please, for what it is, and donate to the Dismantle Collective so that we can get to step 3, dismantle. Y'all, we gotta tear this shit down, and you know it. The foundation on which our businesses and organizations are built are toxic and deadly. If any of you were at the Champions Retreat last year in LA, oh gosh, do you remember when we could be in conferences in person? Oh my gosh, like showing up and getting our badges and our bags full of goodies and like sneaking away from sessions to have a glass of Chardonnay at the hotel bar. Oh my gosh, I miss that so much. I can't wait to do that again. Okay, anyway, coming back. If you were at the Champions Retreat last year in LA, you heard me, I emceed the conference. You heard me say over and over again the quote from the Oakland-based organization Movement Generation. What we do to the land, we do to the people, and what we do to the people, we do to the land. Our economy that's based on extraction and subjugation has not only brought about unthinkable atrocities to Native and African peoples here in this land, it has harmed all of us and damaged our planet. We see it. We're living it right now, and that's why we're here. So you are here to tear some shit down. You might not know it yet, but you are. Okay, my last quote, I promise. I'm obsessed with the writer, producer, and activist Janet Mock, like obsessed, like really, if you know her, look me up. She writes, telling our stories, first to ourselves, and then one another and the world, is a revolutionary act. In revolutions, shit comes tumbling down to make way for something new. When shit comes tumbling down, whew, things get real uncomfortable. And they should. If you've been properly noticing and naming, you will inevitably not be able to unsee the ways in which our organizations continue to harm the very people we say we care about helping. We cannot proclaim business as a force for good and not expect to destroy some evil shit along the way. I mean, have you seen a superhero movie lately? The fight for good can take out whole cities, let alone teams or policies or organizations. So as leaders in the B Corp movement, it's time now to move away from asking, how do I save my business? To having the courage and the imagination to ask, how do I contribute to saving the world? And what does my business need to be to make that happen? That is the question. Here, what we're asking ourselves, how does power and money need to shift in my organization towards greater equity and inclusion? What programs and products need to be eliminated to make room for ones with greater social impact? How do we structure our teams and policies and procedures in ways we never thought of before? And how do we communicate this revolution to our customers, prospects, partners, and the community at large? And how do we inspire, educate, and activate them to help us do the work of dismantling? I promise you, tearing shit down will expose your haters. It will bring about angry tweets and bad Yelp reviews. People, well, okay, let's name it. White people, especially, don't like when shit comes crashing down that they believe has benefited them. But that's okay. We don't have to protect the haters anymore. I give you full permission to make sure that white folks or men or straight folks or whomever are, you don't have to worry about them being comfortable at all costs anymore. Remember, you're not asking yourself, how do I save my business? You are asking yourself, how do I contribute to saving the world? And what does my business need to be in order to make that happen? So you should expect customers to leave, but you can also expect new ones to show up. Folks who actually trust you because you are telling the truth about what is happening and making space for their stories. You can expect that these customers will be more loyal to you than you can ever imagine. You can also expect employees to quit, but you should also expect talented, passionate, values-aligned applicants to show up and help you continue the revolution. You can also expect to spend time and money learning how to show up and tell a new story for your business. Dismantling takes work. You will need help. In fact, I can help you. Reach out. The Black women in my dream weren't just joyful and connected as they exited the arena. They were confident. They were the superheroes who knew that the silent witnesses would make a move eventually. They knew that there was going to be some shit falling down. They knew that they just needed to give folks space to process the wisdom and figure out what to do next. Notice, name, dismantle. We have to have the courage and the imagination to access the magic of stories. Each our own stories, each other's, to pay attention to what's really happening. Call it what it is and tear shit down that causes harm. Then we can rebuild. This is the work. Are you ready?